Well, I think we can probably get started, and we'll see if anyone joins in a few minutes. But thank you all so much for joining today's session on the 2022 Monadnock Food Co-op Farm Fund. My name's Bené Hirschon, and I'm the Outreach Coordinator at CCCD. And I'm going to hand it over to Amanda.
Awesome. Thanks, Bené. So I'm Amanda Littleton. I also work with the Conservation District, and what we're going to do tonight is some introductions. We're going to do an overview of the grant program, just tell you a little bit about eligibility, what we're looking for, and then hopefully just open it up for some conversation and Q&A. So that's sort of the format, but of course, if you have any questions while we're going over things, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll make sure we get to them. So to get things started, wonder if we could just do a round of introductions to share who you are, farm's name if you have one, and what you're interested in about the farm fund. So basically what you think you might be applying for, if you already know. That way we can sort of cater some of the conversation to what you're looking for. And also, if you don't mind, just sharing how you heard about it. All right, so just turn it over to whoever wants to jump in. With introductions, if anyone wants to do one.
Oh, I unmuted. Hi, Amanda. This is Bill, J-Host. Can you hear me now?
Hey, Bill. Yep,
Hey.
hear you perfectly.
Great. So I'm Bill, J-Host. I'm in Alstead, New Hampshire, Cheshire County. I'm interested in replacing my old bulk tank. And I'm a member of the food co-op, and I received a grant in 2016 for some frost-free waters.
Awesome. Thank you, Bill.
All right, I don't know if anyone can hear me because I can't seem to get my video to work.
Can hear you, Kaisa.
Oh, hi. All right, cool. So my name's Kaisa Gerald. I run Green Wagon Farm in Keene. And like Bill, hi, Bill. We also received some grant money a couple of years ago, and we're looking to apply for it again. We're thinking we might expand our cooler, which is located at the farm stand, so we have more storage space. So just here to gather more information. I remember the application was not hard, but just it was hard to get all the words down on paper. So maybe this will help with some ideas.
Ashley, do you want to introduce yourself? All right. Well, Ashley, if you do want to, just let us know if you're having issues with mute or anything. But otherwise, we will just jump in and get started. And we're a really small group, so I would just encourage you guys to unmute and ask me questions if you have any as we're going over things. We can have it as more of a dialogue too, since we're not a huge group of people. All right, so we can get to the next slide. So, all right, so just in a nutshell for this year, this is our 6th year doing this grant program in partnership with the Monadnock Food Co-op. And we plan to award about $30,000 this year. And they can range, grant awards can range between 500 as the minimum ask and 10,000 as the maximum ask, which has gone up a little over the years. It used to be a max cap of 5,000, but we've seen that farms just have so many large capital expenses that we thought there was a real need for some farms for this max to be higher because they're putting in so much money of their own into their projects. I'll just say that overall, the purpose of this grant is to help farmers be more productive, so produce more, and be more profitable as well. So helping with efficiency and productivity, we want to see you be more profitable in general in the local food system. All right, so that's sort of the overall introduction. And so eligibility, in a nutshell, we've got to be a farm in Cheshire County or in a budding town. So right along the edges of Cheshire County in New Hampshire. So Vermont and Mass farms aren't eligible even if they're budding. You also have to be selling to wholesale markets or getting into wholesale markets. If you're not currently, the goal has to be that you're moving in that direction to diversify who you're selling to, not just to direct sales, but also wholesale. And that can include the co-op, Food Connects, but all sorts of other wholesale buyers too. Could be general stores, institutions, restaurants. So it can be kind of wide open as long as it's that diversified wholesale market. Other eligibility, just to be aware of, in operation for at least 1 year and either own your property or have a secure lease of your property. So basically you'd have a landowner provide written consent. And you might be wondering why, because a lot of farms do lease their land. And it's really just because a lot of the projects people do is infrastructure and like development of buildings or other needed infrastructure on the property. We just want to make sure that it's all legal, above board, the landowners know what's going on and are happy about this development. All right. So what type of projects? Well, they range incredibly, but overall, they can be food safety, planning and infrastructure, food production and harvesting equipment, food storage infrastructure, value-added food production equipment, packaging and labeling development, like design, graphic designer work, cost share for technical assistance. This is something no one has taken advantage of yet, and I do think it's something that would be really useful to a lot of farms. Technical assistance for business and financial planning from the Community Loan Fund or others, so you can hire it to get consultants if they're going to help with your business. All right. What's not eligible? We don't pay for farm staff time to accomplish any of the projects. Advertising is not eligible. And you may be thinking, well, I thought you just said logo development and all that type of stuff is, and that is, but just general like marketing in newspapers or radio ads or anything like that, web ads, that is not part of what can be asked for in a budget. So any type of studies, research, feasibility, that's not what this is about. These are more sort of like shovel-ready projects that we want to see happen. Anything that won't lead to increased production in wholesale sales or increased profitability. And then just day-to-day operational costs. If it's like the typical stuff that you're purchasing to run your business, that's probably not a good fit. What we really want to see here is like things that are going to help you level up. Like what's that next thing that you can invest in that's going to sort of allow you to sort of take leaps and bounds to the next step in your business that you otherwise wouldn't be able to do. All right. So priority, what is the selection committee looking for? They want to see whatever project you're doing help you be more profitable. That's like bottom line, first thing. They want to see you expand production for wholesale markets specifically, just because that's how the grant was designed and in partnership with the food co-op to sort of see that diversification. If you're meeting market demand, it's going to be a higher priority. If you know, like you have a product that people want and you just aren't able to make enough of it because you don't have the right storage or you don't have the right equipment for it, if that's all that's holding you back from meeting more market demand, then this is a perfect fit for you. And then it just makes sense. Does the cost benefit analysis make sense for your business? So I mentioned earlier, there's about $30,000 available this year, give or take, and awards from $500 to $10,000. Typically, we award what you ask for. There is the chance that you may be offered a little less than what you ask for. That has happened in the past when, say, for example, like the top 3 projects get funded, but there's a little more money left over in the pot and you're the next highest priority project, then sometimes we'll come back to you and say, hey, would you be interested in taking X amount of dollars? It's not exactly what you asked for, but you're the next in line priority wise and just want to offer it. Just so you know, that could be an option. How it works is it is a reimbursement grant. So you got to be able to put up the cash up front and save all those receipts and invoices. And then once you submit those, we reimburse you for any of your purchases that were in your original budget. And if there are changes in your original budget, we can work with you on that too. All right. One thing that we've been doing that we've heard from people for the larger projects, that sometimes the fact that it is a reimbursement grant and we don't pay you until you finished your project and submitted all your receipts, that can be a real barrier. Just not having the cash, like having an upfront capital to be able to invest in a project. And so we've heard that, and you can ask for 50% of the project costs upfront if it's going to help the project be more successful. If it's going to help you be able to purchase and secure all the materials you may need for a project, then that's fine. You can work with us once your application has been approved for you to get those funds up front. All right, timeline. So proposals are coming up due in just under a month, February 1st. And we review those proposals throughout the month of February. There's a selection committee that's made up of Conservation District board members, as well as Monadnock Food Co-op board members and staff members. And so they review and select the applications. And we let everybody know by March 15th at the latest, if not before that, the sort of the decision for funding for both successful and unsuccessful applicants. And we really do ask people to consider doing projects that can be completed in 1 calendar year. So whatever it is that you're considering, think about sort of your capacity, what's on your plate already, and whether or not it's feasible to complete that project by December of this year of 2022. All right. And so what is the application all about? For those, I know both Kaizen and Bill, you guys have done these applications in the past, but we'll just go over this quickly so we can have time for conversation. Really, we want to see your basic applicant information, and they also request a business plan. If you happen to have a business plan, the reviewers love to see that. And the reasoning behind that is they want to see, like, how does this investment, how does this grant fit into your overall trajectory of growth? Does it make sense for us to invest, say if you're a diversified farm and you're doing beef and you're also doing some dairy, and your business plan says like you really want to be investing in dairy in the long run, for example, and yet you're asking for something for your beef production. And so it's like, all right, how does that align? So they just want to see sort of like, how does what you're asking for align with your overall plans for growth? Does the scale make sense for what you're asking for based on where you're going with your business, that sort of thing. So you get extra points if you have your business plan, and they really love to see it, but it is not a requirement. All right, so then they ask, what's in this project description? So you describe your project, you talk about sort of a summary, you talk about what's the need or the opportunity that this project will address. So this is the problem. You're like, I have a problem, I'm producing so much and I have nowhere to store it. So but if I did have storage, I would be able to sell X much more and be able to have this much more profitability at the end of the year. So that's where you want to really address sort of the problem that you have. And then in the project goals, you're like, all right, if this project is successful, what does that look like? What does success look like for your project? And then tasks and timeline. This is your work plan that you want to really sort of outline to show us that like you've thought this through. Like this is going to take through maybe November, but it's doable in this calendar year. And you want to go through each task and say, all right, step 1, maybe it's identifying the equipment that you the specifics of the equipment that you're purchasing. It's whether there's installation, hiring contractors. It really varies project by project, and we'd be happy to talk through that if anybody has questions. But basically want to go through and say, here's my work plan. Here's the steps I need to take to make this project successful. And then describe your current wholesale product distribution and what percentage of your total farm sales they make up. This is really important. You have to assume that the selection committee has no clue who you are and what your farm is, because some of them don't know. Some of the board members at the co-op may not be that familiar with each farm in the region. And so trying to paint that picture of what your sales currently look like is very helpful. And then you want to be able to show, if your project is successful, what's that going to change? How is that going to change those numbers? So how are you going to be upping production, upping profitability, anything like that, upping percentages, sort of showing like we're at point A, but we're trying to get to point B, and this grant's going to help us get there. That's really what you want to outline. Okay. All right, so I'm starting to get into some of this already. I apologize, I'm jumping ahead, but what to include in the application. So the project description, what we're looking for overall in the narrative, it's not really long. It's really 1,000 to 1,500 words. We don't need looking for you to have like an eloquent novel of any sort. So we just want you to get the point across, tell us what you're looking for. Excuse me. So it's going to also ask you about who you're working with to complete the project, if you need to be hiring anybody, and just want to get a sense of the fact that you have a sense, if you already know that they are capable, and being able to spell that out would be great. And then this next one was about, will you be working with the Monadnock Food Co-op and the Conservation District to make the public aware of the project? We really are interested to hear you say yes to this question, because we want to be able to share your success with the general public. We would like to have other farms learn from it, because I think it's always really illuminating for other farms who've maybe never applied for this grant, to be able to show them what they can be doing. It might give them other ideas that they might not have for future grant rounds, that they maybe could be using this grant opportunity as a way to invest in their business. And we have listed here press, events, farm tours. None of that is required. We understand not everybody is excited to host a farm tour and speak publicly or dedicate that much time, but perhaps you'd be willing to share your testimonial, write up a little article that we could share in a farmer newsletter, something like that. So no pressure there. We just want to work with you with your comfort level to be able to make sure that we can share this information out so other farms can benefit from it in the future. And that sort of leads into that next question, like educating other farmers about the benefit. The next piece to cover in your narrative is ongoing costs. And it's just, we just want to make sure you've thought of it. Just if there are, some projects don't have ongoing costs beyond equipment maintenance. Others have significant ongoing costs. And so we just want to make sure that you're aware of, say, if you're getting something that's going to be increasing your electricity bills, that you've thought that through, like you're going to be able to pay for all the extras through your regular operating budget. So when will you know you're successful? This is what you could share of how are you going to measure your success. So for example, like in the storage, food storage, if before you knew you didn't have enough storage, but you might be able to say, well, with this new cooler I'm purchasing, I'm going to be able to store 7 more pallets of this. And I know that based on my pricing and my production costs, leads for this much profit for my farm. So you could really spell that out. And the more you can use numbers to sort of paint that picture, tell that story, that's really helpful. Because again, the reviewers might not be that aware of what the implications of this investment means for your farm. And then, are there any broader benefits to the community? Mostly there's not. I'm just going to be honest. Most of the time it's like farms will write like more great food for the community, supporting local agriculture, and that's all great, and that's fine to put there. The idea, I think, what behind this question was that sometimes if it's like a collaborative project between multiple farms, for example, once we gave a grant to a farm that invested in freezer storage, and they said they were going to rent it out at a low cost to other farmers who needed freezer storage because it was beyond what they needed on their farm at this point. So that was like a broader community benefit example, because it was going beyond just helping their farm, but potential to help other farms as well in the region. All right. So the next piece is the budget. You'll see there's a budget table in there. And so we're looking for what's the overall cost of your project. Think big picture, total cost, contractors, supplies, equipment, all of it, and add it together. And then how much do you expect the grant to cover? And then if there's extra dollars, how are you going to be covering those? Maybe it's a loan, maybe it's just through your operating budget. But we just want to be able to see that you've thought through, all right, this is how this project is going to be successful. I'm covering it from these sources of funds. Do include, one last thing on that budget, sorry, was that just to include your in-kind farm labor. For example, if you're spending a lot of time on this, your time is valuable, and it should be, even though you can't charge for it for the grant, it is part of that bigger picture. So anything that you're putting in of your own expenses, you should definitely note that. The grant selection committee loves to see that you have skin in the game, more or less, like you're putting investments into this as well, because it shows that like you really value the potential project that you're looking to move forward on. Okay. So allowable expenses, equipment, installation by qualified contractors as needed, any professional services, no farm staff hours, as we've covered before, and then packaging. All right, so say you're doing graphic design work and you're getting new logos and websites and everything like that, and you might want to have some of those flashy new looks on like labels or packaging for any of your wholesale products. That's fine, up to 20% of the budget. So we don't want the bulk of the budget being consumable items, things that you would normally be purchasing for your business. Happy to answer any questions about that as well. And then under the table, where you put in all the numbers, this is your opportunity to write as much detail as you want, provide examples. A lot of farms will provide quotes. For example, if you're interested in buying a piece of equipment, you're interested in buying some infrastructure storage, like freezer, something like that. A lot of times the farm will just include an attachment of their quotes of what they've been given. That way it shows like you've done your homework, you know the true cost of what you're looking to purchase, and it shows your budget makes sense. So the budget justification narrative is just like explaining how you came up with these numbers. And it can be in as much detail as you want, or as you have the information for at the time. But if you don't have all that information yet, don't be nervous about it. You can explain in the budget narrative how you're going to find that information as well to refine the budget. All right. I think we're coming towards the end of the overall explanation here, but just some tips for creating a strong application. Just want to make sure your budget is realistic, and because some of the reviewers are farmers, and they question like, why are they doing it this way? And they will sort of want to make sure that it's a good fit. It's like a realistic budget. Explain it well in the narrative. Take some time to just explain what you're thinking. I always think about it whenever I do grants. Like when I was a kid, I was really bad at math, and the math teacher would always be like, explain how you got that those numbers. And so, like you'd have to start just basically go through and sort of write, why did you come up with these numbers? That's really helpful for people to understand your thinking. All right, so targets, like we said before, just to recap, increase your farm profitability, increase your wholesale production and sales, meet market demand, and try to demonstrate that in any way that you can by showing that people want to purchase your project, not project, sorry, purchase your product. And you, and overall, just want to reiterate that please contact us with questions or ideas you have. One thing I'll share is that we are happy to review drafts. If you have a draft application, you can send it in to myself and Benay. We will read through it. We'll provide you with feedback on how to improve the application and make it more competitive. Do that all the time for farms throughout this process. And I'm not on the selection committee. I help facilitate it. And so if you talk through your project with us, we can help you really make sure you're using all the tools you have in the toolbox, right? Make sure you're just making it as competitive as possible. So don't hesitate to send us drafts for us to provide feedback with. We can review them and have a phone conversation with you to help you sort of figure out what's the best way to demonstrate this to the review committee. All right, I think we are done. We can stop the screen share and I would just open it up. Kaisa, Bill, questions? You want to talk about your project or anything like that? If clarifications on any of the things I just went through, be happy to talk through more.